Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to show you how to build a 40 through 10 meter multi-band delta loop that's very affordable and very effective. I'm going to break it down into exactly what materials you need. A lot of how-to tips as you put this thing together, also how to tune it and how to deploy it. I sure learned a lot with this build and I hope you stick around and you can learn something too. Hey, my name is JKQ4DUX, yet another ham radio video. Today we're talking delta loops, and I've been a fan of delta loops for a while, although I haven't built that many of them. They have a lot of things going for them. Number one, they're fairly affordable and easy to build. They're known to be very quiet. If you live in a high noise environment, this may be something you want to do. They're also very versatile. You can set them up to be polarized horizontally or vertically. There's a lot of different shapes, a lot of different ways to do that. So without further ado, let's get into it. So before we talk about the materials and get into the how-to, you can always skip ahead if you want to get to that. So I built a 6-meter square loop a while back, and I matched it with a piece a 1/4 inch length of 75 ohm coax, and I also used a hairpin and I got a great match. But I also did get a couple of comments of people saying things like, a loop is 50 ohms, just feed it direct, or this wasn't necessary, and things like that. Well, it's not entirely true and it's not entirely false. I chose not to reply to those comments and get in an argument because it's not the whole truth. So the truth of the matter is, all loops do not present the same impedance. Yes, there are some loops that will present a 50 ohm impedance of a certain shape and a certain orientation. Other loops may be 100, 112, low hundreds, and many of them are around 200. So one thing that I'm going to recommend is to go to the site that I learned a lot about loops, and let's take a look at that right now. That is called Practical Antennas. And here we are on the Practical Antennas website with the loop theory page. And as we can see, we're going to be doing a delta loop like the green one, which will be 200 ohms. But as I mentioned before, you may have 50, you may have 112. Here's a diamond shape showing how that can change quite a bit, or a square or rectangle shape. Let's just take a look at some of this. Look at how much different in impedance we can get. And this paragraph I thought was very important. It says, first, the feed point impedance, gain, and resonant frequency vary with the shape of the loop, even though the wire is held constant. So there's a lot that you can do with these depending on how you want to do it. So this is why we need to figure out in advance what type of loop we want to make, and if we want to match it with a balun or something else, or if we even need to do that at all. So now that we've seen many different possible impedance values and shapes, let's talk about some of the different ways you can feed it. I would think the most common is with a 4-to-1 balun and coax. That seems to be the most popular in this day and age, and that's what I did here. But that's not the only way. So if you are running one of those loops that's around 200, divide that by 4, you get 50. Pretty easy to figure out. A couple other ways. My friend John in our local club, he built a loop that was primarily for 80 meters. He wasn't so concerned about the multi-band function. And with the ohms that he was getting, I think he was getting right around 100 ohms or low hundreds on 80 meters, and that's all he wanted to use. So he used a 2-to-1 to bring that down right around 50 ohms. That worked well for him. Another thing that's was quite popular in years back, and still some people using it and still a viable option, is well, what they call ladder line, which really should be called window line. So 450 ohm window line. And if you have a manual tuner like this, that will become very versatile, efficient antenna. And there are connections in the back here to connect that directly to your tuner if that's what you would like to do. One advantage of that is a lot less weight. If you think about, especially if you get to high power and a long span and a pretty heavy balun in the middle of that span, that gets to be a lot of weight. And then you hang a pretty heavy coax. That's a lot of weight to try to stretch between 2 points. A lot of people will add some sort of other support in the middle in that case. But ladder lines are fairly light, so that may be an option for you. One other thing I did find that worked, especially if you want to just focus on one band and mono band, you may be able to adjust the feed point to get it fairly close, maybe around 2-to-1. In that case, most tuners will take care of that, and you can just feed it directly. So let's talk about the materials you will need to build this simple antenna. Number one is wire. I chose to go with the BN Tech Go 18 gauge, and this is silicone wire. So this is what it looks like. It's very flexible. So the advantage of the silicone is if you're doing a lot of winding and unwinding and you're deploying it, there's not a lot of memory in that. The downside is the coating can be pretty grippy and sticky, so not going to want to slide over and through branches and trees and things like that as easy as more of a plastic, like a PVC type coating. So it depends what you want to do with this. If you're putting this up for long-term permanent use, there may be a heavier wire. You could do a THNN, like a regular stranded copper wire. You could go with the PVC coated. That may hold up a little longer in the sun. I'm not really sure about that, but I just had a lot of this around for a lot of my antennas because a lot of times I'm packing and unpacking them and it wraps very easily. Now you could build this without the use of connectors, depending on what you're doing again, but basic connectors and for the proper size wire and a good crimper will make sure that they don't come loose. Some heat shrink, always a good idea, and even if you have the adhesive type, that's very common. It's a good way to produce some strain relief. So what is strain relief? So we're not pulling the wire like this, especially if we have this through the stud of like the 4-to-1, or if we have a connector on the end, we're not pulling and pulling that out. What we're doing is we're creating a loop. So we're pulling on the loop and eliminating that strain. So another thing that is helpful tip is when you cut it to length, you cut it long, and say we put our strain relief right here and we have close to 2 feet of wire here. Knowing that it's long and I'll probably have to trim it back, I don't have to move my strain relief. So let's just say the balun's right here and I have this extra bit. I can cut this off and as I'm tuning it, not have to move the strain relief or redo it. So once we get our wire cut to length, we want to find out where to put the corners, and you're going to need something to put in the corners. So let's go over a couple of options. Starting with the most heavy duty, but also the heaviest and probably the most expensive. You can get these sort of dog bone type insulators or whatever you would call them. And there's many different ways to do this, but say that this is our corner and maybe put something like a zip tie here or however you'd like to do it. That will definitely hold for a long time. And like I said, the only downside, it's fairly heavy, so if weight is a concern, maybe a better option. Another thing you could do, and I have done, is just use a zip tie. This one's a little too big. I have some smaller ones, but if you put a zip tie here, tighten it down maybe 1 or 2 clicks away from as tight as you can get it. Definitely tight enough to hold it but you're still able to adjust it if you need to, and move that corner point if necessary. That's what I did, and that worked pretty well. Now, if you don't want to go and lock it down right away, and you're going to be doing a lot of different tuning, maybe you don't even know how many points. You might want to do a square, or a delta or an octagon or whatever, and you're going to have to move it. This may be a good option. So this is just simply a piece of rope, and it's tied in a circle. So all you really do, you pass it through like this, and that's going to hold it. And even like this, with one time, I'm pulling pretty hard and it's not moving. But if you loosen up the strain on the knot a little bit, you can easily slide it through. And it's very cheap too. What this is bank line, or it's found in the fishing section, places like Walmart or wherever you buy that stuff, or trot line, that sort of thing. It's quite durable, quite heavy, and very, very cheap. So let's talk about our overall length. I started out way longer than I needed to, and actually assembled the antenna, and all the SWRs were terrible because it was much too long. So there's a lot of charts out there and calculators. Make sure you do some good research depending on exactly what type of wire you have, because it may be several feet off. I started with 144 feet of wire. Well, why? Well, I was going off of the Palomar Engineers website. They sell a lot of different antennas, and they sell delta loops, and their 40 through 10 meter delta loop said 144 feet. Now, I didn't get the details and the instructions and all that. Maybe they make it quite a bit too long on purpose, knowing you have to cut it back. So I started with that. Like I said, it was quite a ways off. And so for this case, with this 18 gauge silicone wire, the number I ended up at was 135 feet. So after recalculating and doing some more research, I cut it to 136, and I left that extra bit to trim, like I talked about, where this is where we connect to the 4-to-1. And then I put it up, and yeah, it was still too long, so I trimmed it back. Ended up very close to 135. So when I plotted out where the triangle is and the feed point, there's two main options. So it really depends how you're gonna deploy this. If you have one tall tree and you want to put the apex at the top, as in this case, in general, it's easier to find one tall tree with a good branch than two. You will do it that way. You should put the feed point here. So we're a quarter of a wavelength from the point, from one of the points. So in this case, after the math, I was at 11'4" from the bottom corner up to the feed point, and then the remaining 33 feet, 8 inches up to the apex. Now, if you have two good points of attachment, this may be a lot simpler. Your coax and your balun a lot closer to the ground. That might be a good way to go. In that case, you could feed it from the corner. And this is also quite popular if you're going to use it horizontally. So if you're going to, if you have a good chance of using it horizontally, you're going to want to put the feed point in the corner, and it will also work this way. You can also turn it and put the feed point at the top. That also is an option. Now that we have things figured out on what we want to do and how we want to do it, let's get out there and build this thing and try to get it on there. Okay, now that we have our measurements, we're going to lay out the wire and find our corner points. This is the way I did it, clamped the wire and the tape. So this is a 150-foot tape I bought from Harbor Freight. Pretty inexpensive, and it's held up fine so far. So the first one we're going to put at 11 foot 4 inches. So one thing nice about this, you put these loops on. I'll show you how to attach them, but it's very much adjustable. So all you do, pull it through like that, even a couple of times. Maybe you don't want the knot in there, but pull that through once. That would hold it like this, or you can even go through again and double it up. But being this wire is so flexible, this should hold just fine for a corner. You can kind of tighten it up and whatever else, and that'll hold just fine. And if you're going to adjust it a little bit, it slides very easily. I also use this kind of knot with setting up tarps and tents, but I will usually double it over again, and that makes a very good slidable knot. Once you tighten it down, it'll grip fairly well, but if you loosen up, then you can slide it back and forth to adjust it. So we got this one about that's 11'4", so that should leave us 33 feet and change from the corners is where we want to be putting our feed point. So I'll mark out the other ones and then we'll see what it looks like. Okay, now that I've made my measurements, I have laid it out in the grass here in the yard, and just using some tent pegs. And like I said, this is why this is adjustable, so we will be able to slide this if we're off. So I just put the pegs in the ground, and we'll just connect this to here and walk it out and see how close we are. So as you can see, I'm guessing when I was sliding this in the grass, this holder, the rope part, must have slid, because I am well over 46 feet. So all we're going to do, pull the peg out and then adjust it. So we'll loosen it up a little bit, get some of the tension off of it, and then just slide it. Okay. And we slide the whole thing back to 45, and I'll tighten it up and put the peg back in and readjust. Alright, after a few adjustments, we have it pretty close. I don't think you need to obsess and get it exactly perfect, but close as you can is always good. Now what I'm going to do is measure how high of a tree I think I need, because this will be the apex, and I'll just walk back. And we do want to get this bottom section off the ground, preferably as far as we can, but just so we have an idea how high we need to be. It would be nice to get it up out of, reach of anybody who might be around, so there's no way they could come in contact. So I'm right about at 40 feet, so if you could get it up in a branch at 50 feet, that would put you 10 feet off the ground. That would be a pretty good height, so that's not a bad goal. Let's see what we can do. And as we mentioned, here is the downside to the silicone coated wire. It's just so grippy and sticky. It just kind of grabs to everything, where something like a PVC or a different plastic coating would probably just slide right through. Alright folks, we're out in the National Forest at probably my favorite spot if I'm going to try to get something pretty high in the air. There's a little pull-out clearing here, not very big, but enough to park in, and we have a really nice tall tree with a nice easy to hit branch. So I'm guessing I have the bottom of the Delta loop somewhere between 12 and 15 feet up, and as you can see, there is that strain of the weight of the coax. It might pull the loop out of shape a little bit. That's not a big deal. Well, let's take a look at the meter up at the top of the band with 40 meters. 20 meters, we're kind of right in the middle, looking good there. 17. We definitely need a good tuner for that. 15 also looking pretty good in the middle of the band. 12, again, with that roller tuner we could make that work. And 10 meters looks like it could be a lot of fun in the voice portion. Now 10 meters was open this morning, so this might be a great day to get some contacts on 10 meters. Let's hook it up and see what happens. While I'm set up here, I am going to try make some contacts on 10 meters. Now, to be fair, the bands have really been up and down here in the fall of 2025. You know, one day you'll have just amazing results, the next day barely anything. So take that with a grain of salt. It's not an average cycle by any means. So things looked pretty good here earlier today on 10 meters this morning. It's just around lunchtime now, but earlier in the morning there was some good activity on 10. So let's see what we can find. CQ parks on there. This is Kilo Quebec 4 Delta Uniform X-Ray, South Alabama. Ending in Echo. Okay, I got November 6 Bravo Tango Echo. Yeah, thanks for the contact today. Pretty light copy, but I got you in the log at a 3x3 QSL.
Oh, you're 5x7. 5x7, good signal here into Southern California, Charlie Alpha.
Yeah, thanks for the 5.7. You came up there, bands up and down today, but do appreciate the contact and hope you have a great afternoon. 7-3.
73, have fun out there. Kilo Echo 5 Yankee Charlie.
Kilo Echo 5 Yankee Charlie. Yeah, big signal here, 5.8 Alabama.
Hey buddy, you're 5'7". I'm in a park as well, Jay. You're 5'7" New Mexico, my park 2704.
Yeah, Roger on the 2704. Yeah, loud and clear here. Yeah, I'm testing out a new, I built a 40 meter delta loop and tuning pretty good on 10 meters. Just trying it out this morning.
Yeah, I saw you spotted down the dial, so I leaped down to do the park to park. Hey, enjoy your day there, and 7-3, take care.
Yeah, thanks for the contact. Have fun out there today, 7-3.
You sound great out west. You should do well. Take care.
Kilo Quebec 4 Delta Uniform X-Ray parks on there.
X-Ray Echo number 1, Alpha Queen.
X-Ray Echo number 1 Alpha. I cut out at the end. Again, please.
Alpha Quebec Yankee. Alpha Quebec Yankee.
Alpha Quebec Yankee. I got it. Yeah, thanks for the call this afternoon. Coming in nice 5x5 here in South Alabama. Go ahead.
Oh, thanks for the activation. You're 5x7. 57 into the west coast of Mexico.
Roger on west coast of Mexico. Yeah, you came up to 5.7 as well. I appreciate the contact today. 7-3.
7-3, and your delta loop worked very well. 73.
Kilo Charlie 6 Sierra Echo Hotel. Great signal here. 5.7 in the park at South Alabama.
Roger. You're 5'5" here in Arizona, QSL.
Yeah, it looks like Lake Havasu City. I used to live in Tucson, but I never made it out that way. Hope you're having a great afternoon. 7-3.
Roger. 73, have fun. Echo Zulu Yankee.
Ending in Echo Zulu Yankee.
Kilo 7, Echo Zulu Yankee.
Yeah, I got it. Kilo 7 Echo Zulu Yankee. Thanks for the call this afternoon. You're coming in here about 5 and 4 here in South Alabama. Go ahead.
Thanks for the activation. You're a 5'7", and a lot of QSP up and down, but how does second operator for you? QSL.
Yeah, QSL. Appreciate the call.
Kilo 7, Hotel Uniform.
Okay, Kilo 7, Hotel Uniform. Yeah, the band is up and down. I'll give you a 5-5 here in South Alabama.
You're 5-7 in the Stagecoach Savannah today. Thank you so very much. And 7-3.
7-3, I'll take care. I appreciate it. This is Kilo Quebec 4, Delta Uniform X-Ray, and Parks on the Air.
Florida 4, Hotel Yankee Tango. Yes, Charlie.
The Florida 4 Hotel again.
Yeah, Florida 4, Hotel Yankee Tango. Foxtrot 4, Hotel Yankee Tango. QSL?
QSL, Florida 4, Hotel Yankee Tango. Yeah, beautiful signal here. 5757 in South Alabama.
Okay, my friend, thank you very much for my report 5-7. Your report 5x5. 5x5 in a Santa France. And my operator name is Pascal. Thank you very much for the activity. 73. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Pascal. Thanks for the good DX. 7-3. Appreciate the call. This is Kilo Quebec 4, Delta Uniform X-Ray. Parks on the Air.
Echo Alpha 1, Foxtrot, India, Charlie.
Echo 1, Fox.
Echo Alpha 1, Foxtrot, India, Charlie.
Echo Alpha 1, Fox, India, Charlie. 5x3. 5x3 here, South Alabama.
Okay, QSL, you are 4x4, 44 in Spain. Thank you much for the situation. Have a nice day.
Thanks for the call, appreciate it. And 7-3, QRZ, Parks on the Air. So overall thoughts on the Delta Loop. It did work well. Obviously it takes time to set up. I probably spent about 30 minutes, and you know, really the two parts that were hard was getting a line up that high in the tree, which is doable, but it took me a couple of attempts, and once I did get up there, a couple of snags I had to untie, redo it a couple of times. So that really kind of is the hinging factor. If you can get a line up in a high enough tree reliably, not that bad to set up. The other thing is trying to set it up, wrap it up, and fold it up and unfold it without getting the wires. Anytime you got two wires, they want to tend to cross, and how you loop them. I will do a little short video on a couple of ways that you can wrap up or fold up a loop like this and have some pretty good success without getting it tangled up too bad. So that will be to come. Check that out. Okay, we're set up in the backyard this time, and I have the loop set up horizontally. It's not that high, maybe 20 to 25 feet, but seeing a big difference when I've set it up this way in comparison with the Ribikov. When this station comes back, we'll see the difference. Right now I'm on the vertical, the Ribikov. Okay, loop, Ribikov. Not really. So we're seeing 3 to 5 on the S meter improvement, which that's definitely noticeable. When I was out in the field and had it set up horizontally, it was just barely noticeable. But here we are. I'm guessing, you know, maybe 22 feet at this end, and then it's going up to these. There's a tree in this corner, and then one over here. So, and this is going to be a lot more gain in certain directions, setting up this way, so that may have something to do with it as well. But overall, I hope you enjoyed the build. Let me know if you try to build it. If you have any other questions, please let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe as well. Catch you next time. This is Jay, KQ4DUX. Yet another ham radio video. Take care. Bye-bye.